So, Prabhupada Vaishnava Prabhupada, saintly persons are generally aloof from social activities and materialistic way of life. King Wen was supported by the saintly persons, thus to protect the citizens from the hands of rogues and thieves. But after his ascendance to the throne, he became a source of trouble to the sages. Saintly people are specially interested in performing sacrifices and austerities for the advancement of spiritual life. But Wen, instead of being obliged because of saints' mercy, turned out to be the enemy because he prohibited them from executing their ordinary duties. A serpent who is maintained with milk and bananas simply stores poison in his teeth and awaits a day to bite his master. Complex verse, but anyway, let's see. Okay, I'll just bear with and says, Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschadeshtarine. Okay, so Aheriva Paya Posha Koshakasya Vyanartha Bhrit Vena Prakrti Eva Khala Sunita Garva Sambhava. Now we're talking about Vain as this context is proceeding. Now Vain is in the line of Dhruva and he's one of the king. But he's quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam because I mean to say there are so many kings who are pious like Prithu Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu. They were all kings and very pious, but here we are quoting, they are actually giving a story of King Vain, who is actually, who turned out to be a useless king. Now, why does Srimad Bhagavatam give a negative example of a king who is not following his duties? This is because a light can be appreciated only in darkness, or good can be assimilated only in the presence of evil. Happiness can be experienced only after we have experienced miseries. So, although Bhagavatam is talking about very nice things and topmost things, good things, it's Nirmal Amala Puran without no mal. By the same time, Bhagavatam is forced to actually discuss topics which are about lust and anger and envy and evil to actually glorify uh, the best and the good which it is trying to present. So we are talking about Vain here. Now, if you have read this chapter, the verses before, you will find that Vain was not that bad person previously. In fact, his I mean to say this, Vishnu Puran also quotes about him. Vishnu Puran is talking in details about him, by the way. He was not that bad, but then gradually he became bad. Now Vishnu Puran says how. Of course, his nature was definitely cruel and severe, as we have seen from Srimad Bhagavatam. But then over the time he became, of course, his nature inspired him to do whatever he did, to do complete nonsense things, to become arrogant. He got intoxicated by power. But at the same time, Vishnu Puran says that when he took actually bad association, and in fact, to be specific, Vishnu Puran says he was influenced by some monks who came to his kingdom, who were following Jainism. And we all know that Jainism is an atheistic religion. Jainism is totally opposed to all kind of Vedic rituals and sacrifices, and it's totally atheistic philosophy. So King Vain believe met them and he was influenced by their philosophy. And why he was influenced by their philosophy? Now that's the whole question. Because their philosophy, so Jainism especially, although it's the atheistic system of religion, it talks about non-violence, and it talks about um, moral moral qualities. Now he actually bought that philosophy. So you see the point. But in the garb of goodness, there was an evil within that philosophy, and the evil was no God. And the evil was destroy Sanatana Dharma, destroy Vedas. That was the evil there. Now, whatever happened, I mean to say, Vishnu Puran speaks about this, his conversion into a atheistic king, and also especially his conversion to a bad person by his own nature. Whatever happened, he was not an appropriate king. He was Air Iva Paya Bhusha. He was like a snake. Ahe means a snake. He was like a snake. Now, snake is an envious creature. Snake is envious. Snake bites. Even without provocation. That's envy, isn't it? If you provoke somebody and then they do something, that's not really enviousness because you have provoked the situation. That's anger. But enviousness is you have not provoked, but still they harm you. That's enviousness. In fact, so I was reading actually a story of a saint, an Islamic saint, Saint Abba poem. Abba poem. Yeah. His name was something like that. So he was a desert father. I mean, to say Christianities have fathers, and he was living in deserts, so he was called a desert father. And there are many desert fathers. So he's one of the main, very famous desert father. His name was Abba Poyaman. Abba Poyaman, yeah. Exactly, I don't know how to pronounce, but that's how it goes. Abba Abba Poyaman, Poemen, and you can go on net and read about him. But somebody asked him. They asked him, okay, so what do you define hate as? Hate. So he said, well, hate is when you hate your own faults. That's good hate. But then they asked him, okay, if there's an injunction in scriptures, in their own scriptures, in Bible, if your brother harms you, brother means a devotee, a god brother. That's how in our terms. If your brother harms you, then you should not do anything. So somebody came to him and he asked, what's this injunction all about? If your brother harms you, don't do anything. So our poem says that yes, the meaning of this is if your brother actually insults you, don't do anything. Don't retaliate. And if your brother plucks your eyes and cuts your hand, don't retaliate. But if your brother stops you from serving God, then this injunction doesn't hold. Now, you see the point. The point is, Vain is like a snake, and snake is envious. Now, envious people, they do something without any cause. So fine, uh, they they might harm you physically. They might actually politicize behind your back, and it happens in devotee community. It happens, but at the same time, they might be doing anything. Okay, they're envious. Without any sufficient reason or sufficient cause, they are doing all these things. So, what to do in that case? Well, in that case, okay, fine. What to do? Nothing. That's all. Just keep on going. At the same time, King Wayne was doing all these things. He was politicizing. He was doing so bad things. But at the same time, one thing when he started doing, then sages were really disturbed, and that thing was uh, when any devotee or anybody out of enviousness, when he's harming you physically, no problem. When he's harming you mentally, no problem. But when he's harming you spiritually, then that's a problem. If he's taking you away from God, then you have to take some steps. Otherwise, no problem. So King Wayne started doing this. He actually stopped. He not only stopped thieves and rogues, but he also stopped saintly persons. He stopped sacrifices, and actually he became a source of trouble to the sages, it is said in this purport. Saintly persons are especially interested in performing sacrifices and austerities for advancement of spiritual life, but when instead of being obliged because of saint's mercy, turned out to be the enemy because he prohibited them from executing the ordinary duties. See, he stopped spiritual sacrifices, he actually started rampaging sannyasis and all those saints which were following Vedic religion. He was trying to stop Vedic codes and conducts. Why? Because we know the history. He was a bad person. But at the same time, he was a bad king. But at the same time, he actually accepted the philosophy of Jainism, which is atheistic, and then that's how we can explain his actions. Otherwise, it's very difficult to explain the actions because no matter how much a king is bad king, he will not interfere with religion. He will not interfere with religious policies. In fact, even Islam came to India, and they were converting Hindus. But at the same time, they were very careful of this fact also because if you try to touch religion, then there's a revolt. So they practically came to compromise. Okay, Hindus can follow their own religion. We have their own religion, but they can pay some taxes. That's what it meant. Follow another kind of religion, more taxes. Which I think it's in Islamic word, it is called zihar or something like that. I forgot that term. Some extra money which you pay for following some other religion. Of course, they were called kafir because they were following other religion. But at the same time, you can't kill all kafirs. You can't kill all kafirs because now they are ruling a country. You can't kill the whole country. Then who will be left? So there are two options when Muslims came. Either convert them into Hinduism, but that can't be done because then they'll be revolt. So they settle like that. So Wayne could have done like that, no matter how much spoiled and nonsense person he was. He actually, a sensible thing was to do like that. He could have, okay, he would have told, fine, I've converted to a different philosophy, but then you can follow your own thing, just give me some taxes. And things go like this in history, people have done like that. His ministers would have actually counseled him like that, but he didn't do because um, he was in a mood to exterminate Vedic religion because of this philosophy, his philosophical change of attitude, and establish Jainism, which is an atheistic religion. And that's how we can actually explain his actions here by actually referring to Vishnu Puran. Why he's why is act- why is uh, why is rampaging sacrifices, prohibiting sages to do their ordinary duties and austerities and sacrifices. He's trying to actually stop Vedic culture. So he's like a snake. That's the whole point. he is like a snake. He is not only envious, but his enviousness has led him to stop people from approaching God. And that's not tolerable. That's the whole idea in this verse. That's not tolerable. That's not a good thing. He became a source of trouble to sages. That's what the purport says. Sages have no problem until unless. See, previously the verses came, King Vain was severe and cruel, it is said. Sages have no problem because at least his cruelty and severity was actually protecting citizens from the hands of rogues and thieves. But then the whole point was, of course, that was a problem also because he didn't know how to rule, and then probably he was also torturing citizens to a certain extent. But then sages were doing their own stuff and things were going on nicely. They were instructing, they were educating. They said, okay, fine, Vain is not a good king, but at the same time, you take Vedic education and you learn things and keep on continuing how much long Vain will live. But then when Vain started obstructing spiritual path of others, that's a problem. That is why he's said to be a snake. A snake, I mean to say, there are so many envious living beings. Like mosquitoes are envious, and they're envious humans. Snake is envious, but snake is actually a typical example of enviousness because he not only harms you, but he kills you. Snake will kill you. That's the whole point. Mosquito will not kill you. Out of enviousness, it can bite you. Your relations, your enemies, your friends, they might be envious of you. They might harm you politically or something, but none of them will kill you. That's a big thing. But snake will kill you. None of them will kill you in the first option. That will be the last option to kill. Last, when things are out of control. But snake, the first option is to kill. That's all. It's so envious. And that's why Vain is called snake because he's trying to kill the whole kingdom. You kill the whole kingdom by destroying education, by destroying Vedas, by destroying Brahmanas. The whole society collapses. The Brahmanas are lost, the Vedas are lost, knowledge is lost, there is no directions. The whole society will collapse. That's how you kill a society. You can kill a person by poison. You can kill a family by actually killing the head of the family. You can kill an army by killing the commander, and you can kill a kingdom by either killing the king, or because then there'll be chaos, or by actually killing the brahmanas or the guide who give education, by destroying education. And that's what he was trying to do. That's why he's called snake. He became like a snake. His first option, the foremost thing what came to be in his mind after some time of his rule was destroy Vedic religion. And that's why Bhagavatam is quoting his example. He's not an ordinary mischievous king. He's a special mischievous king. That's what it calls. And the speciality is thing. He's just trying to destroy Vedic culture. And the example is given. Anybody who tries to destroy Vedic culture or Vedas or the conclusion of Vedas or Vishnu itself or sacrifices of Vishnu, he will be destroyed. That's all. So it's the same thing. I mean to say, why the example of Hiranyakashipu is given to actually show us that anybody who is against God will be destroyed. Anybody who is his servant will be saved. Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. The same thing going on. There the fight happened physically, but here the fight is happening conceptually. And the Vain, of course, now Vain has become physical. He's destroying sacrifices, and the Brahmanas will come and destroy it. It will happen for the very need. So Ahir Iba Paya Posha, he became like a snake, completely envious, trying to kill Vedic culture. And Ahir Iva Paya Posha. Now he is a snake who is nourished by milk. That's interesting because Srila Prabhupada says, instead of being obliged because of saint's mercy, turned out to be the enemy because he prohibited from him to do their ordinary duties. So Vain was such a person. He became trouble to the sages. He was not ruling properly. He was troubling them, and he was trying to politicize to destroy Vedic culture. He was doing it. At the same time, the sages, I mean to say, but externally he was, all these things were going on internally. Sages understood that, and he was actually, he was ruling the kingdom. He was taking taxes. He was actually hoarding all the money in his kingdom, and he was not ruling properly. He was taking advantage of his own kingdom. He was a snake who was maintained with milk and bananas. He was like a snake who is trying to destroy his own kingdom by taking advantage of his own kingdom. An advantage of sages. He's trying to destroy sages by taking their advantage. He took their blessings to destroy them. What's happening? That's like a snake. You give a snake milk and bananas, you maintain it and it'll destroy you. You see the point? In childhood, I read that book, The Mark of Vishnu. There was a poem, The Mark of Vishnu. Might have, I don't know, you might have read or not, but I read it. In schools, they taught. It's The Mark of Vishnu. So there was a snake, and this person, I think it was Kushwant Singh's story. This Sardar, you know, there was a snake in the classroom, and all the children were very afraid, and they climbed on the desks. But this Sikh, he went and he took milk and bananas, gave it to snake, and the snake was drinking that. So he went there, and of course he he was a Sikh, or no, it was written by Kushwant Singh, but I think he was a Vaishnava. So he had a tilak on his head, mark of Vishnu. So he said we should have compassion for living beings, and he gave, and the snake was nicely drinking milk. So he went and he paid obeisances to the snake. He said we should see God in everybody. As soon as he got up, snake bit him right on the tilak, on the lotus feet of Vishnu, where he put the tilak. Bit him there, and he died. Now that's how what happens with Ahe Riva Paya Posha. If he was actually malevolent, King Wen became out of control. That's all. Ahireva Paya Posha. Poshakasya api anartha brit. And anartha brit means maintainer. He was working against his own maintainers. Sages are maintainer of the society. Now sages were doing sacrifices not for their personal benefit. That's not Vedic style. Vedas recommend you should do sacrifices for the benefit of kingdom and the king. And that's why they were doing sacrifices. And that's why sages were educating people, citizens, in Vedic knowledge, so that it's easy for king to rule them, to guide them. How will you guide people who are uneducated, who are simply barbarians? Then you have to be a tyrant. So sages were trying to maintain the kingdom. It's a duty of brahmanas and saintly persons to maintain the kingdom in assistance to the king. That's what sadhus and sages have to do. Their role in society. Now I'm talking about role in society, not in role in the spiritual life. It's their role in society, their duty. Just like all of us, we are preaching. Now somebody might ask, what you're preaching will help to the society. You're useless people. You're just sitting and chanting and doing nothing for the society. Communists. So what's our answer to them? Our answer to them is no. You're preaching the message of God. You're preaching a message of morality, moral principles, which will come when we connect to God. The principles of virtues, good virtues, and all these principles will make the character of a citizen. And the citizen is good, he understands what's goodness. Then it's very easy to rule them. You don't need strict laws. You don't need to rule people. People will follow the rule themselves. That's where it will go. So that's our answer. We are helping society in that thing. We're giving them education. That's our whole purpose. So anartha bhrit means maintainer. Anarth. Now that's the whole point. Uh, Vain became an anartha to bhrit, to their own maintainer. Anartha means of no value. Artha also means interest. Anartha means he was working against your interest. That's what becomes sometimes that happens in our own lives. We help somebody, we help somebody, we help somebody, and then it turns out to be our own enemy. He starts to work against us. And if any of you might not have experienced this, you will sometimes. I'm pretty sure about that. Your most near and dear whom you help, they start working against you, and that has happened in history over and over again. It's not a new thing. But at the same time, uh, what to do at that time? That's the whole point. And what did sages do? What did sages do? When he became an anartha bhrit, what did sages do? The sages tried to educate him, tried to bring him on the right path. Why he didn't listen? Finally, they decided to actually get rid of him. That's all. So he became an anartha bhrit. Now, actually, you know what the whole point is? We're talking about Vain, but maybe somewhere we are like him, or we were like him. Let's talk about that. Because Krishna was maintaining us in spiritual world, but we became anartha bhrit. He started working against his interest. And Krishna says, okay, fine, go to material world, that's all. Go to material world. We are working against our own interest. That's what is happening. The soul is maintaining the body, isn't it? But we are working against the soul. We're not doing Krishna consciousness. So what's that? That is anartha bhrit. And that is vain. And that's why Bhagavatam is giving the example of vain, because somewhere we are like vain. Uh, Even though we are following spiritual life, but we are acting like him sometimes. And we are working against our own interest. And that's called anartha bhrit. And vena prakarta eva khala. And when, of course, I mean to say, uh, he, why he was like that? That's the whole question. And I explained to you, and the Bhagavatam says, Vena prakarteva khala. By prakriti, by nature, he was mischievous. Khal. Khal means a cunning man. And you see the point, that is why he was attracted to philosophy of Jainism. Because he was khal. He was a bad person. That's why he was attracted towards atheism. And that's the whole point. You don't do something bad. I mean to say, you don't come in contact with bad and then become bad. But sometimes that might also happen. But sometimes you are bad, and that's why you are attracted towards bad. That's what happens. Amin was one of that person. He was bad, and that is why he was convinced by philosophy of Jainism. He was convinced. Oh, this is nice. He actually started liking that concept. No God, no Vedas. Why? Because he was bad. A fly is attracted towards what's that? Trash. A fly sits on stool. Why? Because it's attracted towards stool. It's not that the fly was not attracted to stool and one day it sat on stool and it said, oh, so nice, and it started getting attracted. No. Fly is like that. The nature is like that. It wants bad stuff. So as soon as it sits on stool, the fly thinks, oh yeah, this is life. I got what I wanted. I wanted stool. I didn't know what I wanted. I sat on flower and the flower didn't appeal to me. And then I sat on On food, fresh food, it didn't appeal to me. But when I sat on stool, I thought, Yam lavdvana cha param labham. There's a way that people walk like that. Things. So, so that's what I think. Why? Because nature is bad. Vein of Prakriti. My nature vein was bad. He was a bad soul with bad sanskaras. So he was naturally attracted towards wrong philosophy, wrong deeds. And that's basically, it's very difficult to overcome our own Prakriti without bhakti. He didn't want to follow bhakti. Uh, and I mean to say, even after doing devotion, it takes time to change our nature. And and until that time, our nature doesn't change. We are at great risk because if your nature by previous lives it's bad, sinful, we'll be attracted towards sin. And then it will be very difficult to control senses and follow devotion. But if your previous lives, your nature is pious and good, you'll automatically be attracted towards good qualities. And doing devotion will be nice, will be easy. So, Vena Prakriti Eva Khala, Sunita Garbha Sambhava. And it says, okay, Vain was, of course, Vain's mother was Sunita and Garbha Sambhava. He was born of. Yeah, that's another thing. But anyway, that's not the point I'm discussing. The whole point is, Vain is a symbol of a person, of a first of all of a king who is actually doing what he's not supposed to do. The foremost duty of any king. Now we are talking about king, but then the whole point is, it is equally applicable to a leader. A leader in a Krishna conscious society, or a preacher. A preacher is also a leader. So what he's supposed to do? Uh, any preacher, any leader, people around him will tolerate him to any extent. They will be prepared to tolerate him to any extent, no matter how much mistakes he do, whatever he does. No matter how much he might not listen to people under him or work against them. But when it will come to the point of vain, when it will come to the point of harming their spiritual life, when people under you start thinking, my spiritual life is getting harmed, then nobody's going to tolerate. Then they'll will. Otherwise, if you're a leader and if you do some mistakes, some political mistakes, some financial mistakes, people mind, but they don't mind so much that they take a drastic step. But if you do some things where their faith, it comes to their faith, and I mean to say not exactly faith also, because nobody understands what really faith means. I mean to say people have faith on somebody. I have faith in you, but then their faith gets destroyed because you did this and this and this and this. But the whole point is, the whole basis of their faith was their own concoction. Like for example, I'll tell you an example. Like uh, for example, uh, yeah. So let's take example of Wayne only. I mean to say, sages were watching him, and he was a king. He had to do his own duties. Now, of course, as a king, you do many mistakes, especially when you're like Wayne. You're not expert king, and already he was not expert king, and he was immature. But then there was no option, so he was installed. I mean, the sages knew before actually making him install him as a king. He's not really appropriate person. But there's no option, so he was installed. So they pretty well knew that he will do mistake, and many citizens will actually get pissed off from his rule. People get troubled because he will not follow laws properly. In spite of knowing this, they actually put him on the throne. I mean to say, in spite of knowing that he's immature and also a little bad. I mean to say, till that time he was not so bad because he did have power in his hand. You become bad when you get power, isn't it? before getting power, people are very innocent, isn't it? I mean, to say everybody's innocent if you don't have power and money. Everybody looks very innocent. But real test is, who is that person? If you want to know who is that person, then you give him power and money, and then you see their real face. That's the whole idea. So Sages knew he's pretty mature when, and he's okay, he's mischievous. They installed him and they expected his rule will be not good. But that's okay. If he's doing some mistakes financially, politically, socially, no problem. But when he started doing something, when he started obstructing spirituality, then there was a problem. And that's how it goes. If you're a leader, you're a preacher, and if you do some financial mistakes, political mistakes, social mistakes, people will not mind so much. Of course, people will think he's a mature leader, but they can really cope up with you. But when you start harming their spiritual, I mean, you become an obstacle in their spiritual life, then there's a problem. So it's a warning to all of our leaders. He's a king, he's a leader, we are also a leader. People under him, people under us. We are guiding some. He's guiding. There are thousands of people under him. There might be 4 or 5 or 10 people under you, but still, anyway, you're the leader. So this is a warning, don't try to obstruct others' spiritual life. That's not what we are trying to do. Don't try to do something by which they feel their spiritual life is obstructed. Other mistakes, people can cope up with that. But this we have to really, really think about it. Our actions, our words should not really obstruct their spiritual life. It should enhance their spiritual life. You can obstruct, so you can stop money flow to a department. That's okay. That person who is, so suppose a devotee is pujari, is under you, and he asks him money, he says, no, I can't give you. You're already spending so much. He will feel bad, but that's okay. But if you tell him, well, your worship is not good, I mean to say, you are not worshipping with good emotions, and you don't have a proper bhava, then there'll be problem, isn't it? Of course, of course, if he wants to listen, of course, there's a method of guidance. That's one thing. But if you tell him, okay, get lost from here and this and that, and if you try to separate people from God, then there'll be the whole problem. So this is the whole point which we learn from King Vane story. Um, and of course, the another important thing in this whole story of Vane is his end. And you will see in this whole story afterwards, sages came and they actually disposed him off. They actually got rid of him. They killed him. They actually killed him. So that's a whole point. I mean to say, whatever we do in our life, uh, you can afford to do mistakes in any field, but at least nourish yourself, nourish your emotions for God, and don't do mistake in that. That you can't afford it. You can't afford to let your emotions go in material world in wrong places, because then it goes out of control. Because spirituality is emotions, isn't it? It's emotions, and that's what we are doing. We're trying to direct up how Krishna Bhavana Amritsam towards God, and that has to be focused upon. Other things, if rules of devotion, if you're able to follow nicely, perfectly, very nice. If you're not able to follow sometimes out of some grave reasons, I mean, we try to follow everything, but out of some practical reasons, some rules cannot be followed. Okay, Krishna doesn't mind so much. If you follow, that's the best. You can't follow, Krishna doesn't mind so much. And if you probably fight with a devotee, Krishna is not happy, but he doesn't mind so much. I mean to say, just a superficial fight. Uh, or for example, if you don't, if you If you're serving some devotee and if you don't give him much prasad or something, okay, fine. But what Krishna minds is that all these things are there, but don't actually make your emotions go in a negative direction. That you should not do. Don't let your emotions go away from God and His service and devotees. Keep your emotions enlightened, fresh, and devotional. That's what we are doing here. That's what we should be protecting. And if we start messing around with that, then like Vain will be killed by Maya. That's what is going to happen. Or killed by God. Krishna will mercifully punish us. That's how he will do to bring us on the right track. Vain was not so fortunate enough. He didn't have a master, and he was killed by sages. But nevertheless, the whole point is some action will have to be taken then. Otherwise, otherwise it will become an irreparable situation. It will become very risky if emotions get haywired. So that's the whole point. This is the whole thing we learn from this vain thing. But the most important thing, one of the most important thing here is, I mean to say, it says a serpent is maintained with milk and banana simply stores poison in his teeth and awaits a day to bite his master. Now, how do we deal with people who are actually against us? That's the whole point there. As far as Vain goes, Vain thinks sages are against me. He thinks, I mean to say, they're not against, but he thinks. And that's why I want to destroy them. Vedic knowledge is against his whole paradigm, his whole philosophical outlook. He wants to destroy them. So how do we deal with people who are against us? If we try to destroy them, I mean to say, from our perspective, they're working against us. From their perspective, they might not be. But if you're convinced they are working against you, what do you do with them? And now if you try to dispose them, get rid of them, then you are no better than a vain, being vain. Then if you try to get rid of people, people will try to get rid of you. So what to do in that case? And we face again and again preaching movement. Some people are against you, some people don't like you, devotees. And then there is a whole problem. They don't want to listen. So what to do? Well, we can't act like vain. That's the whole point. Otherwise, we'll become like vain. So what we're supposed to do? Well, Scripture says, if somebody is against you, uh, what you should do? You should react in a loving manner, so that he learns from your actions, and his enmity is destroyed by wonderful qualities. That's how it goes. Tolerate and work for his benefit. Although that person is trying to destroy the benefit you have, but you try to work for his benefit. That's how it goes. And that's what we are supposed to do. But sometimes, I mean to the sages, now what about sages? Vain was working against them. What did sages do? Of course, sages first try to counsel him properly. And the second thing is, so that we can do. If somebody is working against us, we can go and talk to him. First option. And try to talk it out. If he's not convinced, then you accompany some other devotee. Take one devotee. He's not convinced, take two devotees. He's not convinced, take 5 devotees. Talk it out. But if nothing happens, then wait for some time. And if still nothing happens, and if that person is actually messing up spirituality of other people, that bad it becomes. And it's not a matter just related to you, it's related to the whole community. Then you have to decide to get rid of him, I mean to say, you have to ban him from your community. Sages try to get rid of Vayne. They can't ban Vayne to come into his own kingdom. There was just one option: to kill him. That's all, nothing else. For the benefit of the entire society. It was not a personal issue. And that's what we learn. Vayne was working on his personal agenda. Sages were working on the agenda of the welfare of the whole humanity. That was a difference. Although Vayne tried to harm sages, you can equally say sages killed them. If they harmed him, externally it's like that. Vayne tried to harm them, if they tried to harm him. There was a difference between him and Vayne. Between them and Vayne, the difference is Vayne was actually doing everything for his own selfish interest. But sages, actually, whatever step they took, it was for the benefit of the whole humanity. And that's what we learn from this whole episode of Vayne. There are many other things, but this is the crux, what I've told you, what we learn from King Vayne. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, any answers, and I'm done.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the beautiful class. I don't have any question. It was so nice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam. Thank you so much for very, very nice class. It was a complex verse, you said that, but you took the essence of this verse. So, Prabhuji, the question is, when we are all practicing devotees and we are like Vayne, we are coming together but trying the good in others and trying to improve ourselves. So the whole, congregation or society of ISKCON is like that. Different people trying to come together to serve God, and we all Vayne-like qualities. Very challenging.
It becomes very
To keep our emotions pure and clear. So, I mean, it looks like a really impossible thing because this whole world we came into this material world because we are envious and everybody is envious here. But in that, because of the mercy of the pure devotee, we are trying to become pure and create a spiritual world called ISKCON. And in that, because of our own, backlog of vasanas and other things, so many problems come up. How one can remain pure, at the same time cooperate and, to managerial issues
Yeah, you've asked a question which is impossible to answer. if somebody can answer this question, I think the whole world will change instantly. That's this question all about. It's an eternal question. So I think you know what, in Bhagavad Gita we read there are 5 principles which are eternal: God, Jiva, Kal, Karm, Prakriti. But there's a 6th principle which is eternal: this question. That's how it goes. It's just this question, all institutions. This question is there. Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. And the whole point is any institution which crashed, it was because of this question. Because this question was left unanswered. And even if this question was answered, the application of this answer, the answer to this question, it's impossible because some people will never understand. Some people will, but then most of them will not. Because of their own sanskaras, and it will just continue like that. But at the same time, the question is there any solution? At least some kind of solution so that situation gets controlled. To control the situation, not exactly to solve the situation, because if we solve the situation, Because if we solve this question, then it becomes Vaikuntha and it's no more material world. If everybody cooperates and nobody is envious, if we are aiming for that, then that's not going to happen. Because our aim is wrong, because it is material world, that's all. And we are trying to make material world spiritual world, but that's never going to happen because this is material world. Krishna has already labeled it as Dukhalyam. This is going to be like that, and we cannot change it. It's impossible. But nevertheless, what best we can do, that's the whole point. But the whole point I told you before telling the solution is we should not have wrong expectations. That's the whole idea. First of all, it's wrong to expect that people will not be envious and everybody will start cooperating, and that's very important to understand because people think people have their expectation and they try to solve the problem and it doesn't happen, and they really get frustrated and they leave this ISKCON, they leave devotion because they have a wild dream. Let me call it as a wild dream and not a divine dream, that everything will get nice. That's Vaikuntha. Everything will not get nice. First we have to accept this reality. Otherwise, we'll be looking for absurd options, absurd solutions, and with those solutions will never going to work, and we get frustrated, and others will get frustrated. So you see the point. Before answering this question, I think this is very important point. We have to accept what is reality. Vedyam vastavam vastu atra. First, accept what is vasta vastu, and then shivadam. Then there will be auspiciousness. Vedyam vastavam vastu atra shivadam. Then we can think of a solution. And then we'll think of a proper solution, not an abstract or maybe idealistic solution. If we have idealistic expectations, then we'll come up with idealistic solutions which will never work. So let's talk about some practical solutions. You see, this is how word is. I mean to say, you can say, Prabhuji, what you're talking. But at the same time, I mean to say, I can also say, everybody should cooperate, should come together, do programs, be happy, be sincere, chant together, read together, and then nobody will be envious, everybody will be nice. But I don't want to give these options because I don't have idealistic expectations. It's wrong to have idealistic expectations. It's wrong, I mean to say, all saints, Ramanuja, Madhva, they knew after they will go, everything will crash. They knew. I mean to say, Raghavendra Swami, South India. Now you know him, Raghavendra Swami. So he said, after 800 years, my movement will get destroyed. After 600 years, my books will get destroyed. And after 300 years of his departure, after 300 years of his departure, half of his teachings will be lost. After 600 years, after 800 years, his name will be wiped off. He knew that. And keeping this in view, then he came up with solutions. So first thing is, okay, fine, we don't have realistic solutions. People will envious, people are envious, people will remain envious. And that's going to happen. Because if we have realistic solutions, if we have realistic expectations, first of all, we'll not be able to come up with realistic, good solutions, practical solutions. And second of all, we'll get disturbed. We will not get disturbed because of no solution, but we'll get disturbed because of having idealistic expectations, which will never happen. And no matter whatever solutions you'll apply, even the best solution you'll apply, idealistic expectations will never happen. And you get frustrated again and again. And then you will say nothing's working. But the whole point is things are working. But solutions have their own limitations. That's the whole idea. Every solution has a limitation that we have to understand. And every solution will fail sometime. So don't get frustrated. Fine. Keep on going. That's okay. Don't get disturbed. If you get disturbed, that's the worst thing can happen to us. So, okay, now what's the solution? That's the whole point. Now what to do so that we can cooperate and there'll be no enviousness. And first of all, our emotions will not get wild. go out of control in such kind of situations, whether it's enviousness, whether it is anger, others' enviousness, our own enviousness. We are struggling with both of them, and our emotions get messed up, and we can't chant properly. What to do with that? Is there any practical solution? Okay, with limitations, but is there any practical solution? So yes, there are some solutions which you can work on, and the whole point is, I told you, if somebody is envious, people are envious, the first thing is all this enviousness and lack of cooperation comes because of lack of communication. Major part of it is from lack of communication. People don't talk, people start assuming in their minds, and then they have different ideas, and then they become envious. That's how it goes. Without any reason, without any confirming what was the fact, simply based on assumptions. So the first thing is to actually not let assumptions come in. Just keep on talking to others and let others talk to us. I mean to say, you know what? Sometimes we keep on talking to others, but then we make ourselves so inaccessible that nobody can talk to you. So then it becomes one way. Sometimes leaders do like that, isn't it? They talk with everybody. They say, "Come on, I'm talking to everybody," but still there are communication problems, and people are envious. Well, you're talking to everybody, but they are not talking to you. So a leader also has to keep himself open and accessible. That's the whole point. Not just open, but accessible to devotees that they can talk to you, and that accessibility. How to make yourself accessible by not acting like a leader, by not posing like a leader. Your actions and your instructions should be like, not like a leader that you are high up there and they're low up here, and they'll not be able to talk to you. Just like, for example, in a ISKCON scenario, people can't talk to spiritual master because he's so high. So that's why you have counselors and Shiksha Gurus and whatever. But then sometimes Shiksha Gurus are also so high, you can't talk, you can't reveal your mind, and then they get messed up. So that's the whole point. We don't have to project ourselves so high and so senior. And you can tell them, well, I'm not senior, I'm nothing. I mean, so you can talk to me. Whatever I know, I can tell. That's all. If you don't get satisfied, fine. Then you can find some better devotee and take guidance. But perfect your life. Go back to God. Well, I'm free to talk. Please come. And when they talk to you, no matter how much silly and how much envious their whole attitude might be, even while talking, we have to be concerned for what they are saying and try to understand what they are saying, and then try to help them. That's how it goes. At least this thing, communication has to be maintained both ways. It should be let me say it should be a bipolar conversation or a dialogue, not a monologue. It will not work. So that's one thing. So any congregation, please make it sure, even in your congregation in Charlotte, make it sure that people are talking to each other. Or keep a session that they come and talk on their problems, on their whatever. Or you can maybe keep a session, people come together, and they can also meet you or maybe the leader individually also. 1 to 2 minutes, ask them how's it going, what's happening, or maybe just going here and there. We can always talk. And they can also talk with each other. That's the whole session all about. That's why people bring together. They can talk. That's one solution. Of course, there are drawbacks. I told you every solution has limitations. I told you that first of all. We can't expect wonders here. So that's one thing. And another solution is challenges. That Prabhupada's solution. Come up with new challenging ideas so that people are engaged in that. When challenge comes, people come together. They're forced to leave their enviousness, their own opinions, because there's a common enemy. So to destroy an internal enemy, you create a common enemy. That's the whole point. To destroy a demon, small demon, you create a big demon. And that big demon will kill the small demon. So enviousness is a demon within all of us. So you create another big demon, bigger than enviousness. And that will destroy enviousness. So what's that demon? So what's that? To create a challenge. Having enviousness and doing devotion is a challenge. So create another challenge outside in your preaching and some risk. And I think that's one of the best solution which works. People come together, people work together, people are forced to talk, isn't it? You see, it's the same point. Even if you do the meetings, they will not talk. They will sit. One Mataji will be seeing window, another Mataji will be seeing the door. And they will not talk even in the meeting. So how to do that? Create a challenge. That's the whole idea. Common challenge. So then they will be forced to talk how to deal with this. Otherwise it will kill us. We'll all go down. And as they start talking, they'll become friends. And business will go off. That's the best thing Prabhupada says, take risk. That's where Prabhupada said, take risk. Prabhupada was very intelligent. He knew it is for individual progress, it is for the progress of community. And that's why you see, I saw that here in India. So we are doing this project, Badrikashram, you're on the bulletin. So this project, Badrikashram, this one ashram for a farmers project. And so we are like, I mean to say, there were so many challenges, financial challenge, land challenge. Now we're working together, team challenge. So a big challenge. I mean, and there are stakes in that. If we don't, it's a real challenge. It's not a virtual challenge that we have in our mind. And okay, so this is a puzzle, you have to solve it. No, it's really happening. If we don't do it properly, things are going to crash and going to become weird and absolute nasty. So we have to be very careful to get forced with us and talk and how to do things. And that has created a common energy within all of us. And people have become friends. People are working together. And that's how you see the whole point. That's how these corporates, they work. You see, if in a devotion line, devotees envious. I mean, what talk about people who are non-devotees? They are like, their whole being is enviousness, isn't it? But nevertheless, the corporates keep on going. People are working together. They keep on going. They don't crash. Unless there is some economic problem, something different. They keep on going, and there are millions of thousands of people working. One thing is money, and the portion of money they are working together. But at the same time, money is not everything, because they can fight. They can. I mean to say, even in ISKCON, if you pay money, there are hired devotees, but then they fight. They're envious. They don't work. Corporates, people are there. People continue. Why? Of course, one is money, their own desires. But another point is a common challenge. There's a big challenge in the market. Your company must succeed. There are so many people who are competing with you. You have to talk together. You have to be together to beat those companies. And that's how they keep on going. They become friends. They share ideas. And many of the things are solved. They are able to work together. It's in spite of the fact that there is money working. The force of money is there, but money cannot accomplish everything. I mean, they can end up fighting, and they can say, I can't work with this person. It's impossible. So, but they're able to work together. We have seen that. So they work on the same principal challenges. They set big goals. Here, if you set big goals, if you create real challenge, I'm trying to say that, not a virtual challenge, it will work. It's going to work. So you have to sit and think about that. So there are two ways which we can deal with the enviousness and cooperation. Cooperation will never come by lectures. I'll tell you, it's not going to come. There are thousands of lectures happening. How many times Prabhupada said cooperate, but then it doesn't happen. A practical solution is, or you might say, okay, now we'll do a program. From today, we'll all cooperate. We'll all be nice devotees. And how to cooperate? Okay, fine. You make pizza, you make burger, and you make this nice sweet. We'll come together, share sweets, and then talk nicely, do katha and chant, and everything will be nice. No, my dear, nothing will be nice. It is not going to work. Because we are thinking of idealistic expectations and idealistic solutions is not going to work. That can help, of course. That can help. Why? Because if you come together, you will talk. That's the whole point. Communication. You will talk. It's not because of pizzas and burgers. It's not because of talking about Krishna. Of course, talking about Krishna is the best solution. But the whole point, we are conditioned. That's the whole point. And another point is, we don't know anything about Krishna. That's another point. We know something about Krishna. I mean, so you are there on that forum. Simply remember Krishna. Some Matajis are there. And you know, I mean to say what I'm talking. To talk about Krishna. It's a very different game altogether. We're talking around Krishna, not about Krishna. It's a very different thing. And to talk about Him, we need to have a great deal of knowledge. And that devotees don't have, so they come together. They are very new, mature. So that thing doesn't really work because it doesn't happen. It works, but it doesn't happen. And chanting, okay, chanting is not so hi-fi, so that our mind is like straightened by chanting. And that's what is happening, isn't it? So coming together, okay, fine. So the only thing which works is, of course, how that works is meetings. When you meet together, how that works is that works through the principle of communication. People talk. So assumptions are gone, doubts are gone, and but if that's not happening, then it doesn't work. So how to make people communicate with each other and work together to create a challenge? That's the whole point. As a leader, we should make people keep on walking, and that's what it is said about one of the saint. So one of the saint, he was there. Somebody asked him, "What's the success of your saint?" Oh, this saint only. So Saint Abba poem in Muslim saint. And they asked, what do you do? It's just so nice in regulating people and helping people, and people cooperate. He said, well, there are three things I do. I don't eat the entire day. I eat in the evening. Whole day I'm in silence. And the third thing is I do a lot of manual work. By manual work, he meant he create challenges, and then he makes people work together. And that's the whole point there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much two things I can recommend, practical solutions. Other things I've tried, you have tried, it doesn't work. But this works. And this solution, it's not my concoction. It works, and it's also scriptural. I mean to say, Kamandika Niti Shastra mentions this solution. Prabhupada mentions this. And that's why Prabhupada always said, we have declared a war against Maya. And you see the point, this mood of war is necessary when we are living in this world, because if that mood is not there, then we'll end up fighting. That mood of war, that is urgency, and there's a common enemy. You see the point, that mood has to be there. Then people will work together. When that mood is lost, of course, I mean to say, we also need a mood of loving Krishna and a whole spiritual mood, that Raghunaga Bhakti. That's also there. That is 50%. That's a half part. But we can't be lost in that mood because we are living in material world. We are living with people who are not in that mood. That's the whole point. If everybody's in that mood, okay, fine. We love and we will be in spiritual mood, and that's very nice. Who doesn't like that? But come to material world, it doesn't happen like that. And many people don't have that mood, so what to do with that? But they are with us. So the next option is create a mood of the war. Declare a war against Maya. Inspire them. We are at war. We are in urgency. We are on the attack. And then people will work together. If they will feel that risk, they'll feel that oppression by the enemy, they'll be forced to work together. And that's what it works. So there are two solutions, communication and risk. And to create that, the whole mood of creating a declaration of war, a warlike mood, which was actually Prabhupada's mood, by the way, which we are all missing, which we have lost in our own, I don't know, whatever. We have lost that. We can revive that. I think that's what I can talk about.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very nice and effective points. And in fact, 2 years back, I asked this question to B. Krishna Maharaj, and he answered exactly the same. That I asked that you are. He told a thing that if Prabhupada says jump, we will ask how high. But if now the current spiritual masters, if we say jump, people will ask why.
Yeah.
So, and then he was telling the same thing exactly, that we were all in a mood of army and fire, and we want to change the world and we want to preach.
Yeah. So see the point. It's all Prabhupada disciples know this, and that's why the movement was going up. We are losing this, and that's where the movement is going down. It's coming down. It's up to us to again get our gears on. The people know this actually. You see, everybody and you see, coincidentally, it's the same answer. And I mean to say it's good because this answer actually, B. Krishna's answers confirms my answer also. It actually helps me also to actually understand. Oh, this is correct. It gives me confidence. These people know, and if we can simply do this, bring that spirit back, everything is going to get solved. That's the whole idea. Everything. Mahaprabhu had the spirit. Mahaprabhu and the disciples from Bengal and from Korea, he sent some of his disciples to actually Radesh. He himself went to South India. They were not exactly sitting; they were in the mood, and that's of course that ultimate solution. And that's very nice. If he's talking the same thing, that's great. And just apply it. That's all. But so for that, to sit and think, what can we do so that this mood comes up? What kind of challenge you can take? How much challenge you can take? And then set your goals and get going. And you will see then all these gossips and bad things, it'll just vanish. Just vanish. It's a great answer. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful association.
Anybody wants to ask anything? I think.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Oh, is someone else trying to ask a question?
Yeah. Is that okay? Can I go, or you want to go?
Please go. Please.
Okay, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. This is from your YouTube lectures, Prabhuji. You did talk about, when the devotees advance, the holy name, form, and transcendental pastimes get revealed to the devotee. And when you say that, you mean it spontaneously, it will happen, and you don't have to put in any extra effort on your side. They also have this question where you say, your mind goes, let the mind go where it wants as far as the transcendental, thinking about transcendental pastimes or something of that nature. So my question is, when you chant the holy name, you just concentrate on the holy name and serve the holy name, right? And as far as possible, I mean, I don't know, when you think about the transcendental pastimes, it's just like as if I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure if it's spontaneous or not. But yeah, I just thought maybe I'll get some clarity with you on that.
Yeah, you see the point. If you're thinking about pastimes, it's not spontaneous. That's all. First point.
Okay.
So that's wrong. And if that pastime comes and goes, I mean, some pastime comes, and then some other thought comes, wild thoughts, then it's not spontaneous. Spontaneity will carry you, and you will not carry spontaneity. Spontaneity will actually pull the mind, just like the mind of a boy, which is attracted towards a girl. Now, if you ask the boy, why are you thinking of that girl? He says, I'm helpless. Spontaneity is marked not by starting to think, but spontaneity is confirmed when you are trying to stop thinking and it doesn't stop. That's spontaneity. So you try to do that. So Most of us are not spontaneous, isn't it? If we start thinking, it'll just stop. That's all. Just go. We have to start. You want to start thinking something else, we'll just forget everything. So it's not spontaneous for most of us. But the whole point is, so now what to do? How to chant? So how to chant is, of course, while chanting, Prabhupada says focus on the holy names, the sound vibration. That's okay. That's one thing we have to do. And Prabhupada says another thing also. Prabhupada says also cry like a child. Prabhupada says another thing, pray, engage in your service. So there are many things which Prabhupada is saying, and we have to put them together and then understand what he's trying to say. It is not just focus your mind on sound vibration. It is not just that. It is not just that. Of course, that injunction might be applicable to just a new person, just a person who is just come the first day, and and you tell him to chant. Then what he will say? Okay, just focus on sound vibration. He doesn't have any understanding. But at the same time, when you advance, then Prabhupada says, okay, then pray, engage in your service. And then you might like to say to that person, okay, add this prayer. And then afterwards, you will say, okay, then cry like a child. That's very different. It's not just intellectual prayer. So the whole point is, while chanting, we have to focus on the sound vibration first. And the second thing, we have to focus sound vibration, which is made by body, physical body. Second thing, we have to focus on the prayer, which is through mind and intelligence. And the third thing is on the mood, which is from the soul, which is cry like a child, which is the mood of longing for the Lord. I mean to say, longing for His mercy or for His service. On these three things we have to focus. And then chanting works. Then it will start working. Otherwise it will not work. Otherwise if we simply focus on sound vibration, it's almost like parrot, isn't it? Parrot can also do that. And Prabhupada says in one of his lectures, and Prabhupada, one of his discussions, he said to one of his disciples, you are chanting like a parrot. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Where is a mood? He said. So we chant. Our chanting is not like yogis. Yogis focus on sound, fire, a point. We are devotees. We have nothing to do with focusing on something. Our whole point devotion is mood. Krishna bhavana. It is all bhavana. If that component is missing, nothing happens. Of course, now our bhavana, now emotions have various levels. It's not we have same emotions like gopis. Gopis have different emotions. Pandavas had emotions, but they're less emotions than gopis. We know that. Bhagavatham. Prabhupada had emotions. They have emotions. There's a different layers of emotions. So we have to chant we have to focus on our emotions, and the best emotion now for all of us is Krishna, you are my eternal master. No, this is not something intellectual. This is emotions. You are my master. I'm your slave, and use me as you like. That will be the success of my life. Now, these kind of emotions which are coming from the mood of dasya, from the mood of servitorship, that has to be focused on. Like Krishna says in Gita, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Suhet Sharanam. That verse is there. It's all emotions. It's not words. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi. Arjuna says, you are my Gati, you are my goal, you are my maintainer, you are my master Prabhu, you are the witness, Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa, you are the abode, Suhit, you are the well-wisher. These are not words. These are emotions of devotees. And that is the real focus of a devotee. So that if we try to practice that, then the chanting comes. So all these three things together, that will actually play the music. Sound vibrations, then these prayers, and the mood. Otherwise it doesn't work. And then slowly spontaneous remembrance will come. And when spontaneous remembrance will come, then you can check whether it is spontaneous or not. Try to stop it. Try to just get rid of it. Try to think something else. And if it doesn't go, then that's spontaneous. And if it goes, still we have not reached spontaneity. Like that.
Prabhuji, another question I have is, I see that you have a lot of Hindi lectures, but they're not translated. Is there a possibility to put English subtitles or something like that? Because some topics are really interesting and we don't have that in English. I was just thinking.
You know what? I need 10 hands, but I have to.
Prabhuji,
That's the whole problem.
Yeah, I can help you, Prabhuji, with that if you want. I mean, give me direction.
That'll be great. So what's your name? From where are you? I don't know. Who is
Prabhuji,
talking?
I'm Radhika Kasturi from Folsom, California.
Okay. Do one thing. Just drop a mail to me.
Prabhuji, I think I have, but again, I'll drop you an email.
Yeah, please drop me because there's so many people, and but I will search. So your name is Radhika, and so your mail ID is this, Radhika? What's your mail ID?
Yes, Radhika Kasturi 99@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's my email.
So I will. If you have dropped, then I will search it, and of course, if you can please maybe drop it again, I'll be obliged.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
And then we can do. That's a great idea.
Yes, Prabhuji. That would be great for us.
No, but you are by like South Indian or what? I mean, so you don't know Hindi.
Yes, I don't know Hindi.
Okay, fine.
I'm a South Indian. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Okay, Prabhuji. That will be really great because some of the things I think you have more topics in Hindi compared to English.
You're right. See, I don't speak in English. English lecture, it's conference, or whenever I come to America. In India, nobody used to hear English.
Right. So we will immensely benefit, Prabhuji, if that translation happens, and if there is a way I could help, I will definitely help. Now itself, I'll drop an email to you.
Fine. Perfect. Yeah. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. You're back, huh? Fine.
Yeah. Well, now I have two questions. After that answer, I have to follow up. So, you say that we should chant with mood, and it's all I can do to focus my attention on the sound. So, if I'm also trying to chant with mood, I'm wondering how that is to keep that from being a distraction. And also, it's because I don't have this mood that I'm trying to chant in the first place, and this idea of trying to chant with mood sounds like it feels artificial to me because I don't have that sincerity of mood.
So as I understood your question perfectly, and the answer is, fine if you don't have a mood now and it sounds artificial, fine, perfect. That's usual. That's how it goes on. So then we have to find a solution to get that mood, isn't it? Now we have to work for that to get. So how to do that is, okay, Jan, but then it's very important. Then you start reading prayers daily. That will help you to get the mood. Prayers from Bhagavatham, Gajendra Moksha, prayers of Kunti. So just offer those prayers to Krishna. You sit in front of the altar, just read them and offer to him. Not just read them, that's the whole point. Not just sit in your sofa and read it. No, just read the translations, don't read the purport. Just read the translations and offer them. If you can read in Sanskrit, that's a perfect. You can sit in front of Krishna, photograph or whatever, and tell to Krishna, I'm offering you this prayer, Kunti Maranya, this. Just do it daily, and you see the mood will come. You will see the mood will come. That's a solution.
So even though